So Nitish, welcome. Thank you for joining us in this conference. As you know, it is the 10th year of the conference, and we rebranded it to the India Game Developer Conference, and it's been great so far. Uh, it's been an interesting couple of years, I think, for Nazara. It's obviously it's been one of India's leading companies for a while now. You guys have been 14, 15 years, maybe longer than that, and had an earlier avatar of being more of a vast kind of a player. Then you were a developer for some time. Then you diversified into emerging markets. You're in Africa, you know. So, and now, of course, this whole pivot to becoming the whole acquisition-driven strategy of adding all the new pieces to the business and pivot to publishing and looking at the future. It's a whole bunch of things that you guys are trying to do. And of course, there's this much anticipated IPO by your company, which is probably going to be the first. It is going to be the first IPO by an Indian gaming company in India, which itself will be a milestone when it happens. So it would be nice. I'll ask you a few questions. There's a bunch of press coverage already out there, and so I would try and ask you some questions which could make it interesting for the audience and for our viewers who will see this chat online on YouTube for over the next few months. Tell us, you've been adding companies fairly aggressively to the Nazara portfolio, if I had to call it that. So what are the drivers? What makes you want to look at a company and say that this is a good fit for Nazara? What are the drivers when you make those decisions?
Sure, Rajesh. Firstly, you forgot to call me for the party yesterday night.
Okay, thankfully because of that we're both here. Everybody else seems to be still in party mode. But yes.
Yeah, I think what we see Nazara is working today in 70 countries in the emerging markets, and we see this huge opportunity to create a platform across these emerging markets in the entire gaming ecosystem, whether it's your casual games, freemium side, eSports, real money gaming. And I don't think, given the scope of what we are trying to execute, everything we can do ourselves. And I think that is the fundamental premise of partnering with a lot of very exciting companies, startups to those who have evolved a bit ahead, and kind of putting together this ecosystem, I would say, what we internally call Friends of Nazara ecosystem.
Friends of Nazara.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is what we're really trying to develop. And there's a lot of value add we can bring to these companies, because a lot of the startups here in India, we are very quickly able to take them into different geographies, for example, where they would not even think of going today. Add new revenue streams to them. Provide a lot of synergies between the different companies we've invested in. So it's an emerging story. We're still developing it out, but it seems to be coming out pretty well.
Yeah. So you are one of the few, if not the only one, who has actually penetrated Africa from India. I mean, we know that there are Western publishers who have managed to go to many markets, and they usually end up either go themselves, or many of them end up using partners. But I know that Nazara has actually done the hard work of going it to these markets. I know you first started with the Middle East, and then so tell us a little bit more about that story, because that's not really very well understood by most people.
Sure, we went to Africa through the telco ecosystem. Airtel took us there, but once we reached there, we realized that there's a large youth community, and the digital divide is getting bridged very fast because of the smartphones and Android phones, right? So while a lot of these youth over there would have not had access to PC or consoles and all, but they're coming online very fast, catching up very fast due to the mobile phones. So I think it's a large population of youth over there that you can cater to. There are a lot of challenges in working in Africa, security being one. When we started working in Africa, the first thing we had to figure out is how do we get ransom insurance for the team.
Yes.
And how that works. I think a lot of the Westerners and all are uncomfortable doing all of that. I think the team we have is pretty well versed now to move around in those markets.
So in how many countries are you present in Africa?
22 right now.
Wow, and you have, how many places do you actually have local presence?
You would have about 10, 11.
Wow, that's so you have in 10 countries you're actually feet on the ground and then
We have an office now in Nairobi, and we operate a lot out of that.
so how many bodyguards do you have? I'm just kidding, but
None. I'm learning martial arts myself.
okay. No, but tell me, content consumption wise, what do you see? What's happening in Africa that, I mean, how similar or different are how patterns that you see
I
between
think
India?
it's a very there's a lot of demand for sports related content.
I see. That's very interesting.
Soccer, football is huge over there. There's a lot of betting mindset over there.
Betting mindset.
Betting mindsets.
I see. And
So
regulatory wise, those countries.
it's all licensed. So Nazara recently launched a brand called Big Pesa
Okay.
in Kenya, which is actually a sports betting business.
Okay.
Completely licensed. No
So
issue.
most of the countries betting is legal, and so you don't have to have any
Absolutely.
no issue. So I think that makes it very interesting.
That's becoming big on mobile.
It's becoming bigger. I mean, I know that in India we have some recommendations that have been made by some of these committees to actually legalize betting in cricket and so on. And I think if and when those happens, I think you would be in a very good position to leverage on that, right?
I think that's the idea. But you've already seen the proxy, right? Fantasy sports in India
Yes,
has become massive.
massive.
It's really a proxy to the
I
betting.
mean, I don't know if how many people know, but companies like Dream 11 have done fantastically well. I mean, there's been a recent deal by Tencent investing more than around $100 million in that company, which just shows that there is a great appetite for these kind of activities.
Correct.
So you present in terms of content, you are having presence in skill-based games. You are in you're also in real money games. You're in casual games. Tell us a little more about the trends there. What do you see in terms of traction? Is there a certain kind of a age group that seems to favor one over the other?
Of course, the younger the age group goes, it gets more casual. Today at Nazara, we have a huge kids network in India. I think, Nikhil, it will be 25 million monthly active users. That's kids as young as 2 years old. So obviously, they'll be very casual in nature. And as that is evolving into the college years, you're getting into eSports. So one of our partner companies, Nodwin, runs a lot of eSports. Now we're hosting DreamHack in India for the first time in Mumbai now in December. So I think as Nazara, we are catering to different needs of all these consumers, and we have different content for all of them.
So, esports. I get asked this question a lot. How big is esports in India, and is it a lot of noise right now? Is it a lot of hype right now, and how real is it? So, is there any numbers you can share? Is there any data you can share that would give us a sense of how? I mean, clearly it's a market with a lot of promise because there's just a lot of money coming into esports into India. But how big is it really right now?
These numbers are very dynamic. Like you said, you ask different people, it's difficult to put a number to it. But I think on ground, we are seeing a lot of demand. DreamHack, for example, we're expecting 25,000 people to attend over 3 days.
Very okay.
And Book My Show, the tickets are selling like hotcakes. I mean, you've got tickets selling as much as 10,000 rupees a ticket.
Okay.
So that shows real demand on ground.
That is real demand on ground. And is this what? Is this like college-going crowd who are into esports, or is it that
predominantly?
Yeah? Okay. And in terms of esports, do you see it? How much of it was on the PC and how much is it on the mobile right now?
A lot of the core crowd or enthusiasts are on PC. Mobile is emerging.
Okay, so with PUBG, do you see
now it's
that?
become very big.
Yeah. So do you see PUBG tournaments as part of your esports initiatives?
Yeah, why not? I mean, as far as the offline tournaments that we're running, online, offline, we're supporting all types of popular games.
What kind of prize monies are we talking about?
So DreamHack, for example, has 1 crore prize money. I think Nodwin over our esports company over the multiple events they do are doing currently in India about a few crores, 5-6 crores a year.
Oh, that's like close to $1 million a year in prize money.
Yeah, and I think that will grow very fast.
That's pretty impressive. Tell me on the in India, clearly the numbers are growing very rapidly. Last 2 years, thanks to the whole geo phenomena, the whole mobile ecosystem exploding. We've seen now, we now have games that have crossed 100 million downloads. We have games which are now doing in excess of 10 million daily active users. And you have a very big portfolio of games. What are you seeing in terms of what's happening in India? And also there is this clear trends that we're seeing of relatively higher consumption in tier 2, 3, 4 rural India. It would be nice to hear you talk about that as well.
Sure. So I think two trends we've seen in the last year and a half after Jio launched was, one is consumers are always connected online. So earlier a lot of consumers would download games, go offline. That trend has completely changed. The file sizes are mattering less.
That is very interesting,
right?
isn't it? PUBG has just broken that myth that file size is important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think these are the two macro level trends. From a vernacular perspective, I think it's a completely untapped opportunity. We in fact recently launched with our partner a game in Vernac. It's a game called Choropanthi, which is doing very well.
Yeah, that's the Hindi version of Scrabble, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I've seen that game. It's I think very unique.
Yeah.
And it's a very well researched game, and it will be very interesting to see how that game does.
Absolutely.
In terms of again rural India, how comfortable are they with the process of acquiring an app, the app store, and what is driving the choices people are making? Is it largely word of mouth? Is there a lot of side loading that is happening? Because we know Share It is very popular in India.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of side loading, but I think again it's the same thing. The digital divide is getting kind of plugged very fast with these phones. Everybody has these phones, and it's not that people in the rural areas are not smart. They pick it up very fast.
So if you had to give a very high level sense of, if you have like your user base in India right now, how many would you say in percentage terms are from the bigger cities, and how many would you say are from the smaller cities and from semi-rural and rural India?
I think tier 1 would be 30-40%.
Okay.
The rest would be spread out.
It should be spread out. Okay, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And how good are the data networks in some of the smaller places? I mean,
how good are the data networks in Mumbai is the question.
Well, true. But we do hear about it. I mean, there's a lot more time available in some of the smaller cities. They don't commute. They don't have to.
Right.
They don't have so much of commute time, and
Right.
I think some of those aspects really play in very well. Real money gaming. What is your view on real money gaming opportunities in India? How do you see that playing out?
So I think in India you are seeing huge scale in real money gaming. I think the kind of scale we've been all hoping for happens around gaming is really emerging in real money gaming.
Okay.
Whether you've seen over the last few years companies in rummy, poker become pretty large. Now fantasy sports, other skill-based mobile gaming just coming in. So I think the real buzzword this year is real money gaming.
Yes.
And a lot of money flowing into it. Huge number of startups in that space.
I mean, the deal flows certainly seem to be
real,
that direction.
real money seems to be in real money gaming.
The real money is in real money gaming.
Seems like that.
I mean, if you look at deal flow, certainly the case. And what about regulatory challenges and risks that are there in that space?
I think it remains because a lot of it is gray area. Some of it is becoming little whiter shade of gray, a lighter shade of gray. But I think given the scale of opportunity that is there, it's worth a shot. And I think there shouldn't be any binary stuff. In India also, a lot of this regulations are state subjects.
Yes.
So it's not a binary one day, India takes a call.
I know, for example, Telangana
has taken a call, but it's not stopped or killed that business.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And hopefully, I think from what we hear over the next 2, 3, 4 years, I think more clarity on regulation around all of this is going to emerge, which may actually be positive for the business.
I know there's a number of court rulings that are being primarily the way clarity is being achieved in some of this, right? There is some high court rulings and some Supreme Court rulings, and so is that, do you think that that's going to be how it's going to be for some time, or?
I think so, till the government comes out with a framework to regulate a lot of this. And as the scale is achieved, I think the government will also be pressurized to do it faster.
So let's talk IPO. You've been in the news for your upcoming IPO. It's obviously, I think the market has been fairly volatile, and I would imagine that you would want to time it right.
Yeah.
But how's the process been? And
so it's been a exciting process, because learn a lot. The last 1 year, me and my team has learned a huge amount on how to prepare the company to go public.
That's a talk in itself and a future time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to extract a promise from you that you will do a talk on how to take your company public.
Yeah, I think our CEO Manish will do a better job at it. But I think it's a very exciting opportunity. We as a company are completely ready. We have all the approvals in. Like you said, we'll be waiting for launching it at the right time.
And you continue to acquire companies into your mix.
Yeah.
How do what are you looking at now in terms of what's exciting you when you see some of these new startups out there, and what kind of companies are you looking for?
Yeah, I think we are operating in these 4 or 5 verticals:
Yes.
Casual gaming, freemium, eSports, real money gaming, and we're looking at companies that fit into any of these verticals that we are operating in. And like I said, we're trying to build this Friends of Nazara ecosystem. So we're looking at investing in startups or slightly more mature companies also. We're taking minority stakes as well as majority stakes.
Okay.
I think our portfolio today comprises of 12 to 15 companies.
Yeah, do you really know how many companies you have acquired, or
I said 12 to 15. Because I didn't know the exact number. But we hope to accelerate that. We're currently in diligence stage with 4 companies.
Okay.
So we're hoping to accelerate that process.
Good. So have you met any interesting companies at this conference?
I've just flown in.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to meet after this talk.
Very good. Excellent. So Nitish, thank you so much. And I think I'm going to open the floor for some questions. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for questions. If you have any questions for Nitish.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Get him a mic, please.
Hi, Robbie.
Hi, just wanted to ask you, you said that you have a portfolio of games which includes the casuals, the freemiums, the real money ones. How do you see the proportion of real money games being as a total of all other portfolio games?
Yeah, I think it's not a question of quantity of games.
No, in terms of volume of revenues.
In terms of revenues, clearly the real money is outshadowing revenues from all other aspects. I think today the kind of scale the real money businesses are getting are at a factor of 10 times, 20 times the other businesses that are there. So I think you can't compare the scale right now.
That's quite lopsided then.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think real money just gives that. See, in markets like India, betting is not allowed, but real money gaming allows people to kind of experience a bit of that online, on mobile, and that's what's driving it.
One question I think I missed out on. There is this, globally, the perception is Indians are playing but they're not paying. They don't do in-app purchases, and there's this question mark whether we will really reach any closer to the metrics that are prevalent in the more mature markets. So what's your take? Because you've been watching the market, you've been in the market.
There is some truth to that, because if you see Google Play, the top India's number 1 or number 2 now on the downloads chart, right? It's nowhere on the top 10 on the in-app purchase chart. So I think there is an evolution that's still to happen. But I think it will happen over the next 2, 3, 4 years as consumers get engaged into more deeper games and evolve in their own consumption pattern. It's bound to increase.
So are there any green shoots as there is this that you see in in-app purchases?
Yeah.
I have some anecdotal examples of, like, my wife is a great example of a casual gamer, and she's been playing, typically the kind of games that are casual, Candy Crush and Hidden Object, and for a long time she wouldn't pay, and I would keep watching her as a way to see how. But now it's been about 2 years since I've noticed that she's been active, but now she's paying from time to time. And I think that first time took her a while to kind of cross that threshold and say, I'm going to pay for something. But after that, I think it's been much easier. Do you see that? I mean, that's just one example I have, and I'm not really.
So I'll give you a more interesting example. My daughter's not even 2 right now. She'll turn 2 next month. And she understands in these games what is locked.
She understands what is locked.
Yeah, and she will click on it and insist on me to pay for it. And if she'll throw a tantrum if I don't pay for it, till I pay for it. So it's happening.
No, I think I know my son is 10, and he already has a monthly budget for in-app purchases. I think this is going to be the new normal for parents. Like previously, we would have budgets for what would you spend in the malls and what you would spend. Now it's going to be, I think, what money is going to get spent on in-app purchases is going to become a part of our negotiation with our kids on what they spend. So, great. Any other questions?
Good. I think we're done then.
Any other questions? No questions. Okay, great. So Nitish, thank you so much. And I all the best with all the things that you're doing and the IPO hopefully next year. And enjoy the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.